There are some people who don't quite have the understanding of why gun control is a threat to America's very existence. I'm going to try to help. This is because many have forgotten about how this country was formed and the groups of people nearly annihilated during the process. It's important we the people understand our liberties as a whole. We have to understand this and we have to get it. Allow me to tell you about a group of Americans that were once deprived of their land, religion, vote, general assets, guns, and even not allowed to speak their own native language. These defenseless people were then forced to only one select food, while all their natural produce was exported from their land via armed convoy. These people suffered from famine, and when others inquired about how long the famine would last, one of the elected political figures said, and I quote, "The judgment of God sent the calamity to teach them a lesson. That calamity must not be too much mitigated." Well, in other words, let them suffer. These people would eventually travel on ships to the US with adults having about 18 inches of sleep space and children having just a fraction of that. Sickness went through the ships and death was rampant. But you know what? That's okay. The overseers had a fix for that. They would just wrap the bodies up, weigh them down rocks, and throw them overboard. Of course, you lose generations of people, you lose families, you break up civilizations that way. But hey, who cares, right? Once they were delivered to America, they were treated like subhumans as well. Just when you thought things would get better, no they didn't. Given none or extremely low wages and not allowed to eat in certain restaurants, shop in certain stores, or even be seen in certain parts of the city, they were also denied the ownership of firearms. That seems to be a reoccurring thing. They were unfairly targeted by the government and even targeted for their religion along with their ethnicity. The country began to turn violent towards them as common people and police alike would ridicule, beat, and even kill them with no consequence. Government tried to sway the public to believe that they were a menace and they must be contained or sent back to their famished land. Many were thrown back on the ships, sent away with no way to return, separated from their families, and essentially sent to die a slow death. Their communities would be denied resources and attacked by other groups as their home and businesses were burnt down. Other businesses posted signs to inform them they were not welcome to apply for employment. Cartoon paintings mocking their appearance were placed throughout the land to publicly demean them. They were depicted as apes with sloped foreheads. They were called potato monkeys as an insult and depicted to be wrecked drunks with no critical thinking skills. As they began to find out, secret political organizations were formed to keep them down. These groups had political power, including the President of the United States, Millard Fillmore. Supporting them as the egregious politicians sought to destroy these people. They would be called the Know Nothing Party, who used their American flag to promote their hatred towards these people. Hell, in one incident, their community priest was dragged outside into the streets, stripped of his clothing, and hot tarred and feathered for all to see. They even killed another priest as he was just visiting a sick parishioner. Can you imagine? Under the disguise of politics and hatred, these people were continuously assaulted, killed, and were essentially defenseless to do anything because they were not allowed to own firearms. The persecution was so vicious, a segment of them even joined a foreign army to fight against America. Funny thing is, when they were caught, they were killed for treason. Killed for treason by a country that only hurt you and never accepted you. The tyranny of these people will begin to slow as time progressed, and others in the southern region of the country began to be free as the nation sought to begin freedom for all people equally. I wonder who the people were in the south that were fighting for freedom as they were fighting for freedom in the north. Anywho, this would align with the timing of such Supreme Court decisions like the Dred Scott case. This progression would see the end of the political Know Nothing Party. Kind of ironic that's the name of them, right? Because they knew nothing when they were questioned. Who am I talking about? What people suffer like this? Well, they only represent roughly 10% or 32 million people in the United States of America. Say hello to the Catholic Irish. They were denied every human right imaginable, killed and alienated just for being of a certain ethnicity and religion. The Know Nothing Party sought the persecution of the Irish through political avenues and violence as well. Well, let's see what President Abraham Lincoln had to say about it. And I quote, "As a nation, we began by declaring that all men were created equal. We now practically read that all men are created equal except Negroes. When the Know Nothings get control, it will read all men are created equal except Negroes and foreigners and Catholics. When it comes to this, I should prefer immigrating to a country where they make no pretense of loving liberty. To Russia, for instance, where despotism can be taken pure and without the base alloy of hypocrisy." Wow. I want you to think about that for a minute. A president said he would rather leave his own country than live under the foreseeable political landscape. Let that sink in. We continuously fight to make sure that the Second Amendment is protected because history has shown us throughout the world, not just the United States of America, when you unarm people, there is obviously an agenda that you want to push forward. You can't have them armed in order to do that. But no, what would our politicians rather do today? You would rather wait for some kind of tragedy for you to exploit, for you to try to undermine the Constitution, for you to do a workaround, for you to try to strip us of our liberties. I'm here to tell you, there's 10% of Americans I just talked about. That's 32 million of them, okay? There are another 13% of Americans I can think about that went through something very similar, if not worse. There are other sections of this country that don't want to be controlled by your agendas. We don't want to be controlled by the know-nothings. We want people that understand and believe in the liberty of this land. We want you to hold up your sacred oath and do right by us. We want a country where government understands its role, where they understand that they work for the people. You're here to do your part. You're not here to rule over us. This is not a dictatorship. You don't just get to say you don't like the Constitution and your feelings are hurt, so you're going to change it. We can see what happened when political influences got into office and what they did to a certain group of people when that happened. I'm here to tell you, I am an American. I stand by my Irish brothers, I stand by my black brothers and everybody else. And I will not stand by and allow you to control this country in that way. You're going to have to do something different, like be fair, like listen to our voices. And in case you forgot, in case you don't think about things clearly, you swore an oath to uphold that Constitution. You, Mr. and Mrs. Anti-Political Figure.
Hold on, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished?
I'm not quite done. You know, I always say that we want to make sure that we, the people, understand that this is our country and that the government works for us, and we shouldn't allow people to divide us where they can conquer us, that we are all one and we should all come together. Sure, we have an ugly past, but we can damn sure have a bright future. No, don't allow these individuals to flip-flop on you and take your freedom and play it as a bargaining chip. It is about time that we all stand together, unite, and inform the government and inform the powers to be that, hey, we are aware and we're going to unite together through differences to make sure that this country proceeds forward. I am a free man, you are in a free country, and we are going to act accordingly. Now you can go. See you later.